Okay, so let's talk chainsaws today. You see I have two chainsaws here. The one on the left, the orange one, that's a Stihl. The one on the right, the green one, green, yellow, whatever you want to call that color, is a Ryobi or Ryobi or however you want to pronounce it. Obviously that one is electric, the Stihl is gas. And they are both 18-inch bars. Now here, jumping straight from the chainsaws, is my current project. The wind, a week or a week and a half ago or whatever, blew down a total of 4 trees. They were dead. You know, the wind just kind of, I guess patience is a virtue. I didn't have to cut them down. The wind just took them down. And here's the other one. That makes 4. Now, looking at this, you can tell I've been whacking away at it, slowly but surely. Had to fix my fence over there because of the tree falling on it. But anyway, I've been whacking away on it. Now, what would you expect me to be using? The Stihl or the Ryobi, the electric? Well, believe it or not, folks, all of this has been done with the Ryobi. And if you think that's not a happy sound in my voice, you're right. Because it has taken me this entire time to get this far. If I were using the Stihl, these trees would have been cut apart just like they are now within no more than a couple days. So, why am I not happy with this? Why didn't I use the Stihl? Well, that's because the Stihl is a pain in the frickin' butt. All right, I bought it brand new. It's quite a few years ago now. Well, no more than 6 or 7. But I bought it brand new, used it for a little while, put it up. Then I came out to use it again, could not get it to work, took it into where I bought it. They sent it to the service center. Came back from the service center, said it works fine, you know, just had to clean up the carburetor, etc., etc. And I had nothing but problems with it once I got it back from the service center. Very hard to start. Next to impossible to start sometimes. So finally, I said the heck with it. I downloaded the actual service manual and I tuned it up. And for that summer, after I tuned it up, that thing worked amazing. I was so happy with it. It was one pull start, everything. It was great. Loved it. Was living up to its name as one of the top chainsaws, and there are. And then it sat for a couple of years. Cleaned it out when I had to use it, and had a really, really hard time starting, and got to the point where I couldn't even get it to grunt, so to say. So I got pissed off because I could not get it to work. I didn't feel like taking it in to get it fixed again, since the last time I took it in to get it fixed, it didn't work worth a damn. So I just said, you know what, I'm just going to go buy the Ryobi. So I went down and bought the Ryobi. And that thing had been utterly amazing in terms of everything that I tried to do. I could always just plug that battery in and away I went. It was instant. It was great. Well, that's all fine and dandy as long as you're doing stuff like that. Or stuff like, maybe even stuff like this. But what happens when you start getting into stuff like this? Now keep in mind, This is an 18-inch saw, and I'm working on wood that is been dead for at least 4 years. That's why these trees came down when the wind hit them. So it's not like this is full of sap or anything else. I mean, look at this. There's nothing here. This is dry as a bone. And guess what? As soon as you start cutting into this, the Ryobi starts having a problem. Not the chainsaw itself. The saw itself is fine. Works great. The batteries. These are 40-volt batteries. I only have 2 batteries. One's a 4 amp hour and one's a 5 amp hour. But as soon as you start cutting this really thick stuff, like these, and over here, I'm going to go ahead and walk over there and show you while I'm talking. But as soon as you start cutting into the really thick stuff, and I don't consider it really thick. This is an 18-inch bar. This should not be an issue. When you build a chainsaw that's an 18-inch bar, then I fully expect it to work just as good as any other chainsaw that's an 18-inch bar, electric or not. If it's an 18-inch bar, it's meant to do this with no problem. It's meant to do this with no problem. Well, it's got a problem. What happens is halfway through, every single time, well, not every time, you have to learn how to baby your stupid chainsaw. You can't just use it, you have to baby it, which I've slowly been figuring out. But what happens is, at the halfway point of the battery, working on stuff that's thick like this, it gets an overcurrent condition. You get two blinking green lights on the battery, the 2 outside lights, and you're done. You can't use it. That battery, it's done. And you have to pull that battery and then use another battery. And guess what? It does the same thing. And that makes no sense whatsoever. So every time I was getting into these thicker pieces, I could get maybe 3 pieces cut. And presto, I have an overcurrent on my battery. So what that means is, all right, I've got to take the batteries back inside, let them cool off, because I'm not going to charge them while they're hot. So I have to let them cool. Then I can put them on the charger. And it takes forever. You got to keep in mind, these are 40-volt batteries, so they take a long time to charge. So basically, I'm only out here working maybe an hour a day. When I was doing the smaller stuff, it was more like an hour and a half to 2 hours I could be working. But not with the bigger stuff like this. So, I am cussing both out. I'm pissed off about the Ryobi, the battery cycle on it, the way it runs. And I'm pissed off at Stihl because their shit's not worth anything either. They brag it's so easy to start. Bullshit. And I've seen other people with the exact same problem on starting their Stihl saws. So I don't ever want to hear another ad saying Stihl saws are super easy to start. Well, not. Now, let me tell you the next thing. I would actually rather use the Stihl for this. And here's the reason why. It's gas. As long as it's working, I can stay out here all freaking day and just refill the gas tank and refill the gas tank and refill the gas tank and be cutting and cutting and cutting until guess what? I'm finished. It's all done. I cannot do that with a Ryobi, with an electric. The electric chainsaw, when you're in a big job, is worthless unless you have, oh, I don't know, 8 batteries at least. 8 5 amp hour batteries, at least that many. And I don't think even with 8 you would make it through a full day. But here's the thing. You can recharge them, right? Yeah, you can. And how long does it take to recharge them? If I have 4 batteries, I will run through all 4 before the first one is finished recharging, because it's got to cool off first. So you have the cool down time, then you can recharge it. Now, here's the other downside to these electrics. One of those stinking batteries is definitely over $100. Now, I know everybody's crying about gas these days because it's expensive, and it is, don't get me wrong. However, $100 will get me, what, 20 gallons of gas? And then all I have to do is get the 2-cycle oil to go with it. That's a whole lot cheaper than running a Ryobi or any electric chainsaw. So, yeah, I would much rather be using my Stihl on this. As you can see, I've got cuts here. There's a cut there. I wasn't even working on that one this morning. I was working on this one over here this morning. Where was the cut? I started a cut and... oh, no, I did actually. It was this cut. I did manage to finish this one barely. But yeah, now my battery, I've got one battery on the charger finally, and the other battery is just sitting there waiting to go on the charger. And, you know, this just doesn't make any sense. I mean, the electrics are great. Do not get me wrong. I love the fact that I can just walk up to it, put a battery in it, and use it. And for small jobs, I think it's wonderful. For these jobs, it has no place being here. Not unless those batteries can function correctly. And yeah, they have to function correctly. That's all there is to it. The big problem is, though, you still have to buy a shitload of batteries. I could spend $500, $600, $700 on batteries and still not have enough to do the job. So there's my critique of electric chainsaws, specifically the Ryobi 18-inch bar electric, and my critique of the Stihl chainsaw, the gas 2-cycle 18-inch bar. Basically, I'm not happy with either one of them. So, anybody got any comments on that? I would appreciate hearing them. Thank you. Bye. You might be wondering why I bought a Ryobi or Ryobi chainsaw. That would be because of this. I have a lot, and I do mean a lot. Don't mind my shop. It's not real neat and pretty like everyone else's. I have a lot of, and there's more, of Ryobi equipment. And I have had absolutely the best results with all of it. It's been awesome. It's been wonderful. I even have a much older one drill here somewhere buried, and it still works. It's the old blue one. And what happened with it is I had a long 16-inch bit in the drill. It fell off my ladder, hit on the bit at just the right angle, and it cracked the heck out of the case of the drill. And I figured, well, that one's done. Well, lo and behold, that drill still works just as good as it did when I bought it new. But I have obviously since replaced it and upgraded to the newer stuff. And I love all of it. It's just great stuff. It never freaking breaks, except for the 40-volt batteries. Okay, that's all.